sort of like fell into this by accident. I didn't come from a family of entrepreneurs or anything. When I was younger, this wasn't something that I wanted to do. I wouldn't even say I was particularly entrepreneurial by nature. I was in school for political science originally, and then 2 years in I realized politics is not the way to change the world. And I had a little bit of a crisis of faith, because, you know, I knew that I wouldn't have the privilege of maybe taking some time on my parents' dime to figure out what it was that I wanted to do. So I started working while finishing the rest of my degree. And the only places that would hire me were startups. And I remember working at my first startup and just thinking, like, I could do this better than my bosses. So, and, you know, 6 months later, that startup tanked. So I learned a little bit about, startup failure, something that is very, very probable. I essentially, my first business, I wouldn't even call it a business. I call it like my Play-Doh business. It was a lifestyle magazine, an online lifestyle magazine.
I think everyone has that though, like that first business that they don't really realize was a business until later.
Yeah.
Like everyone who has that first like starting point where they just, it's something that they were really excited to do and they put a lot of work into it and even coordinated people, but then
yeah, so that's exactly what I did. I was like a kid with a laptop and access to the internet. I learned how to build websites, and so that's what I did. And then I hired freelance writers from all over. But the interesting thing is that around this time, nobody was really using social media for organic lead generation. And what I was doing then, and I kid you not, I was doing like mass following on Twitter back when people were actually using Twitter. What's interesting is around this time, nobody was really using social media for organic lead generation.
Right.
Like social media was a newer thing. I think around this time, people were just like, Twitter had become the platform of choice for everybody. I started doing this thing called mass following, which is very self-explanatory. And using a bot, I would follow thousands of people through my, this brand, this lifestyle website's account. And people would follow back. And in a very short period of time, I was legitimately garnering like thousands of unique visitors to my website every month, essentially for free. So kept that running for a little bit, for about a year or so. But then I discovered that the whole magazine, the online website, like ad selling model it wasn't profitable. Basically, it was hinged on me hustling, and I was still in school. And anyways, at some point I just decided to give up. I kept all of the assets online, which 2 years later I would go on to sell to a company based in Richmond. My second business was a startup in the social media data mining space. And I started that after my first full-time job at another startup in the AI image recognition space. Basically started off at that startup as a social media manager because that's all I could do. I was an arts grad, whatever. They hired me for social media, and very quickly, within 6 months, I was promoted to marketing director. I proved that I had better ideas than the guy with the MBA who I had formerly had to like directly report to. Then my ego got really big, and I thought again that I could do it better than my bosses. So I quit, and then I co-founded Targeted Tweets, which was in Twitter data mining. I ran that for a little bit, and then my co-founder moved to San Francisco to go to law school. And then I was like, what the heck? Turns out that piece of technology, the IP, was worth something. And with that, I was able to raise some seed capital for the incubator marketing, which is my marketing agency, and probably the business that most of you guys know me for.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of the incubator.
That's where I met you.
Yeah, when we were working for the same client.
Yeah.
So I would say the incubator was my first successful, okay, I wouldn't say that.
They all sound pretty successful to me. And you were so young too.
But with that, I was, at its height, the incubator, like, it was nice, like, being able to hire people full time, being able to work on really cool contracts
Yeah.
with clients, et cetera, and then I ran that until January 2019.
So what really happened to the incubator marketing?
Like, why we closed.
Sure, yeah.
So 2018 was it started off as a really good year. We had grown really fast. We were expecting some really big contracts to come in. And then in the spring, it seemed like I'd say the spring was the beginning of the end. It just started with getting the news that my co-founder was pregnant. And then 2 weeks later, top marketing lead. She's like really, really talented. We had invested quite a bit in training her and getting her to the position that she was in. She got poached by another company.
Oh, man.
And on the personal side, I was broken up with. This is all on my blog. I've written about it.
It's crazy how much people matter when it's a service-based business, though, like that. Like, that's how it's just a couple of key people, and it can just rock your world. Yeah, it's so hard. And it's like all those things are just life that got in the way, and it's crazy. So much can change so quickly.
We had also been anticipating 2 really big contracts that would have changed it really would have changed the strategic direction of the company.
Yeah.
And I put a lot into those bets.
Mm-hmm.
Again, my ego probably played a part in this, which is a running theme in my life. Those contracts didn't pan out, and that happened around the same time as well. So
maybe it's just optimism more than the other.
Right?
Yeah.
But being an entrepreneur, I was trained to not sulk too much over bad news,
Of course.
to always look for the opportunity on the other side of each obstacle. And so that was my truly, like, I gave myself a weekend to grieve, and then the following Monday I was back at it. I was determined to make this work no matter what.
Right.
And so for the next 6 months, I think I was just like pulling 5 hours sleeps, just determined to
Like
get our company
like
through this. And also at the same time, my co-founder was pregnant. I really didn't, and I knew how much she wanted this pregnancy.
Yeah.
So I really didn't want to place a ton of stress on her. I really took it on myself. Mind you, this is somebody who is, maybe we can get into this a little bit later, who is co-founder by name but not in equity, something that she wanted. It was her choice. But this is someone who came in at a very pivotal time in the beginning, and it was really important to me that I was able to support her as well.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah, so I took a lot on myself, and we recruited a new, like, all-star member to the team, and she was poised to basically become my new business partner. And at the very last moment before things were going to become official, she realized that she couldn't take on that role. And I realized, like, that I didn't want to be doing this anymore. I know it sounds really cliche. I just didn't. By the end of 2018, I realized I couldn't see myself running a marketing agency anymore, that nothing would make it all worth it. Nothing. Like, no amount, no dollar value, nothing.
Because you were just in such a place where you needed to have, like, some freedom and space for yourself.
It felt like, okay, one of the benefits of feeling like you're at rock bottom is also you don't have anything to lose, which grants you a certain amount of freedom to make decisions that are hopefully more meaningful to you. And I think subconsciously at that point I knew, it was like, this could be an opportunity for me to do something meaningful And I didn't know what that was at the time, but I knew that it wasn't in my position, the position that I was in.
You need that purpose.
Yeah. So towards the end of 2018, we had started phasing people out. It was really important to me that the staff on my team were also taken care of, and so they were given an adequate amount of time. I helped them find new job opportunities in some cases.
That's awesome.
And this is also around the same time that I think we were talking a lot because, and your role, you get really emotional.
Aww. It's hard.
I just really appreciated being able to call you up and just talk to you, and you being someone who, could understand what I was going through.
I do it to you now all the time too, so you get me right back. But yeah, it's true. You need someone to talk to about these things. So it's not everyone chooses that path, right?
Yeah. So you really helped me get through that period of my life.
That's good.